Yes.
Okay. We can start from the start itself. Okay, from the basic what we are, how we do, and maybe you can spend more time on what we discussed yesterday. Okay. Who will start? Farah?
Are you picking on me? Okay. So company is DAISTRUK. I'll just quickly go over the first bits. We're not assuming anything affects, no COVID, no war. I'm a senior finance manager. I'm advising special projects and strategic matters. Things to consider is that DAISTRUK is a listed company, so I'm looking at advantages and disadvantages of being a listed company and potential for it to be privatized or what. We're in the game of logistics, inbound logistics, internal and to customers. There are different variations. There's a variety of customers. So you've got motors, supermarkets, construction, and all have their own needs. Transportation cost is our biggest cost. It's a great business. There's competition. There is it's a 226.2 billion revenue industry. There are different varies of logistics: 1PL, 2PL, 3PL, and 4PL. We're 3PL. And then going through it, we've got there's different ways of 3PL works with storage and how we keep things and different intermodals and modes of transport. So there's those and obviously risks attached to that. With cars, there's trucks, there's articulated trucks, there's rail, and there's sea. I guess with all of them, they have their pros and cons. With the trucks, that's the most costly one. However, areas, but the trucks are the most utilized. But it's literally destinations. But there's a lot of health and safety and possibly shortages of drivers. With rail, that is the most efficient, but you're limited to the transportation network. And there is a possibility of lobbying with the government and trying to increase that infrastructure, or something to consider if we're expanding to a different area. So, same with the sea. There's a lot of documentation that can go with the sea, which could be a critical success factor. There is limitations with freight costs, and something that happened with the Suez line as well. There's the uncontrollables, and freight costs jumped up when there was a supply and demand issue. There are inland ferry ports, which could be a possibility of doing a strategic or joint venture. Again, going back to documentation, that's something that could be, again, that's air seems to be expensive and can hit our revenue margin. It's for perishables, something again we could do, joint alliance. We don't have our own freight cargo aircrafts. And then there's intermodal, which is using different methodologies to be able to get your goods efficiently and using them all together to work seamlessly. I like the DHL documentary. They seem to have their own trucks, and what they did with the government is that they took 3 parking spaces inside the city centre and used that as a hub, which I think was very innovative, and that could definitely help DAISTRUK if they're doing a lot of city centre deliveries. That's me done.
Right, so you have talked about the risk, the other parts. Okay. Did you start working on your stakeholders, Farah?
Yes, I did. And when you were going over them, I started adding to them. So I've got a list of stakeholders, and I did a SWOT analysis as well.
Okay. I'm putting on group Suhas' work. He sent me an email on stakeholders. We can take help from there and add some more as well.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Next, Suhas, you want to go?
Yes, and Farah, while you work on that worksheet, you also can rectify or can advise if anything is wrong there. So,
Oh God, I don't know if I can rectify, but I'll put in a comment if I can help.
yeah, because we collaboratively we can do this. So that's
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll start with what we discussed before on our pre-SIM material. Our company DAISTRUK, which is quoted company, listed company in Roundland, is the country name, and we are established in the developed country and reporting on IFRS reporting standards. And I'm working here as a senior manager finance, and my job is to evaluate the different strategic options for the management and also advise the management for the most efficient and give them judgment on the strategic issues and the planning process. Going forward, before we go to the go ahead with the DAISTRUK, my company, we will understand we also understood the logistic, how it works. So the logistic, we are the one of the largest 3PL service provider in Roundland, and the logistic, when we say logistic is the part of flowing the goods for the customers smoothly and efficiently and in a timely manner. So that's what we do. And the logistic has a two important aspect that we studied in our pre-scene. Is one is inbound logistic, and another one is outbound logistic. We take care of both of them for our customers, receiving goods from the suppliers and checking, verifying those goods, and store those goods in the warehouses whenever required, and also give the real-time updates to the customer about the movements of the inventory. And also for the internal logistics, like we also take care of storing those goods and taking care of those goods in the warehouses before it dispatches to the final customers or the customer's warehouse. And then outbound logistic, which also takes care of like picking the goods from the warehouse and dispatching. And we should dispatch those goods to the customers in within a time frame what I've been given by the customer. And this is what the logistic works. And then we also discussed about the cost functions, like what is the exact cost is incurred in the entire Roundland country. So that's what we discuss is about around 50% share is by the transportation logistics. And that's what we also discussed, like it is also kind of an area that we need to evaluate whether we can reduce this transportation by road transportation. No, this is the latter part. Okay, so the 58% we occupy from the entire cost perspective, that is the transportation. And there is also inventory management and warehousing, the storage kind of thing, and other administrative work we also have. And then we also discussed about different types of logistic companies, like first PL, second party PL logistic, then third party logistic, fourth party logistic. So we fall into a third party logistic where we take care for the entire end-to-end supply of goods to the customer, and that's our expertise. And going forward, we also discussed about the shared and dedicated three-party logistics, like if company have the shared shared, like sharing the warehouses with some other companies, and there we can just the customers' goods are parked there or the store there in the shared warehouses, so that it can also most cost effective for the company. That's we discussed. Further, we also discussed about the different types of transportation, mode of transportation. And we also found out that the road transportation is the major area that is utilized or used by this transportation mode of transportation, which is around 76% that we use through the road transport. And that's what we also discussed, like this is kind of this is the area where we have to reduce the use of road transport, and we can, if we can focus and evaluate more options for the rail transport, which will be more efficient and convenient for the customers from the cost perspective and the time perspective to deliver their goods in time. We also evaluated two other.
Sorry to interrupt. You can also link that road transportation to the transportation cost.
Oh yes, correct. So yeah, that's good. So if we move from road transport to the rail transport, which is more efficient, which will ultimately reduce our cost of transportation, which is 58%. So that cost will reduce, and it is ultimately and a value addition for the customers, and this is what we are known for, and that is our main objective, to add value to the customer. And we also have discussed the different mode of transport, which so the road transport, we discussed about different types of vehicles, like the cars and vans we have. We also have some trucks, and the articulated trucks, which is customized as a special kind of a truck for the special kind of a goods. So that also we discussed. And we also discussed about the rail transport, how it is, and sustainable way of transportation for the companies and for the society also. And it is efficient from the cost perspective, and also it takes lesser time than the road transport that we discussed. And the sea transport is very important for round land, especially when if we think about going ahead for the expansion with some other countries, since we don't have any road connectivity with the other countries. So the sea transport is a major chunk for us to develop in the future, and to work in according to have to develop and to improve this sea transport mode of transport in future, which is also an opportunity for us.
We thought I was a lower amount.
And air transport, we discussed. The air transport is a little bit expensive, but it is very much required for of a perishable goods, or those goods which have a less shelf life. So in that case, the cargos are we also arrange cargos for our customers, and then we get their goods delivered by the air cargos. So this is what we discuss.
Very good. So I hope you'll be able to write also like this in the exam.
Yeah. So so yesterday I was not at all prepared, so this time I just made a point, and it's very difficult to remember, but it's really good.
So this is the thing what we are doing, because if you are able to connect the dots, so these are facts about our own company which we must know, right? Based on that, then we'll connect this to the external environment in the real world, the pestle issues, the industry analysis, or some of the other models what we want to add. Otherwise, sometimes what can happen, you can go in exam and they're asking something, we are not getting points because we are not able to connect dots from the pre-scene. We don't know. For example, here transportation cost is 58%, when we are doing 78% by the road. When you reduce the road, automatically the transportation cost will also reduce.
Yeah.
All interrelated. So make notes of it. We can easily forget it. All right. Vishal, you want to add something?
I think I have similar points, Misbah. Do you want me to go from start?
No, it's okay. No need, I think, go from start. But anything which we have analyzed, not only from the facts, what we have, if you want to add that you see this as opportunity, you see this as threat, something like that.
Yeah, so I think one of the most important aspects that we can look at, and interestingly, we're talking about only right now the industry and how it works. So again, this is a biggest factor for any opportunity to come through for a DAISTRuk, is the type of transportational model. But I know for the fact that we cannot make decisions by ourselves. It is more of a contract-based environment with the clients. But whenever it comes to anything in terms of making sure that this would be a sort of integration, could be an integration or things that we can come across as taking a seaport. That could be one area that we can look at. So a couple of opportunities. We also looked at DHL story. I think DHL story was quite promising. Some of the elements in terms of, and we have to go through the details of DAISTRuk as well. How much artificial intelligence and what implementation has happened with the company. But I think there's a lot which is happening and can be a classic example which we can aspire to become like a DHL story. So I think one area is, and just to summarize all of his thoughts, is one area is we look at our own internal processes and look at how we can improvise, how we can make sure that we make it 100% foolproof with the Six Sigma model, as well as making sure that we are introducing automation, bots, and artificial intelligence into picture. That's one. Second area could be that since the heavy expenditure on road, what are the other options that we all know and have with their pros and cons? Why not we just switch some gears and probably look at rail as an option or sea as an option? Because there are multiple opportunities and multiple things that we can think through. So I think that's one area that we can even go forward in terms of expanding as a into the market, and actually trying to develop that as a big scale from where it is right now. So there are so many opportunities that we can even think through. But yeah, a couple of limitations we already know, but there are more coming our way, and that we somehow need to understand this better.
All right. Very good. So the port part, as you rightly mentioned, maybe that can be a strategic matter for us or a special project at first, or if we are holding already, it can lead to strategic matters. Plus, again,
Correct.
dealing with the airport issues, because air cargo will again play a very important role. As we have seen in DHL story, also they are running their own airport. So we can tie up with the companies like that. We can be a partnering firm with them. So definitely partnership, joint ventures will play a very important role in this industry. And lots of mergers, acquisition might also take place. Usually mergers and acquisition, mostly acquisition is a common question for CIMA exams. So DAISTRUK might have to acquire some company for last mile, or maybe they want to acquire the entire port or majority stake in the airport, something like that, to have more control on that. Secondly, as we discussed yesterday also, this industry, basically it is like a backbone, or we can say blood for any economy to run, right? It's not only limited to one specific industry, but it is required in every place, from food items to automobiles to books or anything for that matter. So government policies, the infrastructure of the country, what support we are getting, the taxation, the documentation required, the legal requirement, everything will play a very key role. So we'll be discussing risk also after the introduction. So pestle issues will be very, very important. One change in law can cost us a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
Just to give an example, in India, there was a rule that if something is getting imported from outside, which is more than 50 pounds, 50 pounds or plus, that's equal to 5,000 Indian rupees, that will only be taxed. But a lot of companies were using this as a loophole, and they were sending everything like 49 pounds or 4,900, around that range, just below that. Now the government has changed the policy. So obviously people were misusing it, trying to use at a use as loopholes, right? So government changes. So obviously a lot of businesses got affected because of that one move, especially the products which were cost leader type of thing. If there is heavy taxation on that, sometimes some industries are
Hello. We lost your voice, Misbah.
Yeah, I lost him too. Oh, he's gone.
I think he left. He will rejoin.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, now we can hear.
Sorry,
Yeah, you can hear you now.
network issue.
Okay.
All right. So I was saying about the pestle issues, the small changes in the regulations, requirement like taxation or the documentation required or approvals required will be changing a lot of things for us. Obviously, the cost. And when the cost is changed, people might think for alternatives. So we have to be very careful with that.
Yes. So I was actually reading further with about this DAISTRUK. So they already own 2 ports, and that's fully automated ports they have. So of course, yes, the number of ports we need to increase because we are the island. So
We
that is-
can, but at the same time, the monopoly. In all, I think we have around 6 ports in Roundland. They have mentioned here somewhere.
Yeah,
things.
6
Yeah.
inland ports, yeah.
So if you have 6 and if you are trying to take, let's say 4, it might create a monopoly. So
Yes,
mostly
we already
government
have
won't
to.
allow it.
Yes, we already have 2. Correct.
We might go to 3, but even 3 can be a problem. So be careful with that.
Got it.
So when we'll do the SWOT analysis, put that 2 ports as a strength and remaining 4 as a opportunity.
Hmm.
And we have to see how we can convert strength to opportunity, use opportunity to strength, vice versa. Okay, let's get started about the company now. DAISTRUK was established in 1958 as a transport company. So it's quite old company. 68, 78, 88, 98, almost 60 years plus. So we have a very good experience. We must be having good relationship with the stakeholders, the government and public in general, the society in general. Because imagine a company which is unethical, unsustainable, they cannot survive this long time. So this also you put under the strength of SWOT analysis. But at the same time, when the things are so big, when the business is so big, the brand is so big, definitely the expectations will be higher. We are expected to be more ethical than other companies who are just coming up in the recent times. We have a responsibility towards the society, towards the environment. We might be looked up as a change maker. Okay. Yeah, so a transport company to move building materials for the construction of large steel works that was built in its hometown. So initially we started with the steel works. The company grew rapidly, expanding its client base and buying additional vehicles and employing more drivers. So some companies nowadays, they even lease the vehicles. But what we have done is buying the vehicles. Maybe leasing was not a very popular option back then,
Yes.
and employing more drivers. By 1974, it was transporting loads by roads across the whole of Roundland. So become nationalized company back in 74 itself. Almost around 16 years of their existence. Okay. DAISTRUK was quoted on Roundland Stock Exchange 1978. So as we are discussing in the previous introduction classes, usually companies take 15 to 20 years to get listed. So if you see here, they have also taken exactly 20 years. So that's the normal time a company takes to get listed from scratch to being a public company. The company now employs 22,000 people, including 7,000 drivers. So 22,000 direct employment. Again, this is a strength for us. Imagine if you have to negotiate something with the government or any other issue happens. This can be a positive point for us. Again, in stakeholder, you make separate for our normal employees. Like you as a senior finance manager is also part of 22,000, but you are not part of 7,000 drivers. Why I'm asking you to do it separately? Because the expectations and what we have to do will be different for normal employees compared to drivers. Let's say health and safety issue, training issue, right? Their fitness. Getting the point?
Yes.
Yeah.
And having a license holder drivers, that's another.
Having a license holder, many companies want them to do regular eye checkup also. They should take enough sleep, and there are some laws, they cannot drive more than 8 or 9 hours. continuously, especially when they go to the big trucks, trailers. Okay, all of this can come into place. And obviously, the people who are doing the trailers, the bigger one, they are in demand. Finding drivers like that can be difficult. So how we are retaining them? At the same time, if you see any disruption is coming in technology, how this will affect their jobs. All of these things we need to plan. Then DAISTRUK is now, yeah, sorry, something.
Sorry, I was gonna quickly say, because I watched a few months, well, last month there was a documentary where there is an issue with delivering vehicles in particular, and what they're now doing is with Teslas in particular, they're making them self-drive to their new owners so that they don't need to have the logistics issue.
Yes, that can also be one point to look at.
Okay.
Thanks for that. Then DAISTRUK is now one of the largest third-party logistics provided in Roundland. Maybe we can be second biggest. Let's see. It provides intermodal logistics management service to many large organizations. So what is intermodal? What is the definition of intermodal?
When there are two connecting
More than one model.
Sorry, anyone?
Intermodal means we are using more than two modes of transport. Like one we deliver goods from by sea or on a port, and connectingly we are using the road transport. That's called an intermodal.
More than one or more than two?
More than two, yes. Two or more than two.
Use of two or more. So basically more than one. Minimum two.
Yes, minimum two.
So it's very rare, companies that depend only on one. Maybe some companies are only doing last miles. Like if you see these food delivery companies, they are not intermodal. They are just having their electric bikes, or they are having their electric cars, like that. Okay, so it provides intermodal logistics management service to many large organizations. So now when we are dealing with large organization, we have to be very careful. If you compare to previous company, okay, we have our own brand and we are doing business to consumer. Previous pre-scenes, okay, or a normal company. But here we are dealing with large organization. Imagine we have 4 companies, A, B, C, and D. Okay, we have an issue with some of the work or some of the goods for company A. Definitely B, C, and D will also get affected. Basically, the shareholders of B, C, and D, these 3 companies will also think, are this company or DAISTRUK is trustworthy or not? So maybe these companies are listed themselves. So we have more to safeguard the reputation, not only for us, but for their company as well. Because under their, maybe in their annual general meeting or their integrated reporting, they have to disclose who are their major stakeholders, how ethical we are. Because companies nowadays want to give business to environmental friendly, ethical, sustainable businesses. So their reputation responsibility somewhat also comes to us. Why I'm stressing on this is sometime we might get a project which may look very good. We have very good returns, or maybe we are generating a lot of profit from that, but it's not very ethical. Though it must be tempting for us, but still we should not take it. Why? For the greater good of the organization. As we are now operating more than 60 years, we have a good brand and reputation to maintain. If you do that in one case, everybody, other companies will also start questioning, and their stakeholders and their shareholders can put pressure for them to shift. Makes sense? Because it's totally different game when you compare to dealing with the consumers directly.
Yes.
Okay. Because if there is an issue with data, so maybe under GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, We might also get into issue. We might also have to pay fine. They might also have to pay fine. You have to be very careful. And obviously, when we are more into B2B, the negotiations, what we are doing with the businesses, how we are retaining the customers, or these organizations will be a very key point. What type of contracts we are giving them. Okay, and obviously we cannot depend on only few organizations. How we are adding more businesses to our list. And obviously the businesses which are compatible with the current inventory or current service we are providing. We must be having some of our USPs. Maybe let's talk about ports. So companies which are importing or exporting may be our first priority. So just a small assignment, what you can do is research how these companies who are doing B2B businesses, especially listed companies, both are listed, how their operations are different from normal B2C companies or normal companies, unlisted companies, not large organizations. Because here they have to look for a lot of stakeholders to manage. All right. Now we'll see what we are actually doing, including. First is inventory management. How we do this? We have our warehouse. DAISTRUK provides IT-based services to manage customers' inventory and enhance efficient transport. So IT, this is very, very important. We should have IT director at the board. We should have a good cyber security. We should have constant upgrade of our website applications. We should have big data analytics. And obviously we should find how we can improve on the technology, like artificial intelligence we can put in, and how we can make it more efficient. So R&D can also be a big cost for the company. So here we can also talk about tying up with the universities. Whenever something to come with R&D, we can share the cost. Share the cost with whom? The universities, because universities have PhD students who are constantly researching and they have the infrastructure, they are spending money. We can also add resources and it will be a mutual benefit. We can even give internship to their research students and they can convert it to full-time job as well. It can even get us access to talented employees. Or going further, there are companies like IBM and other companies, they have directly tied up with the universities. You can even ask them to do a bespoke or tailored course. Who is doing that course? They can directly come on board and start working with us. We'll change the course and make it more practical. So people who are doing this, they'll be given priority to work with us. Yeah.
So Ms. Bhai, just two small questions, please. If you can just go slightly up, I won't take much time. I was just slightly confused, probably, or maybe my lack of understanding on the second line of DAISTRUK. Construction of a large steel work. So moving building material for the construction of large steel works, which means that what I understood is that this is the only thing that they carry.
They started with this.
Okay, but okay, and they maybe increase something else, right? Which we are not sure.
Now we are doing a lot of things. Like you see here, it provides intermodal logistic management services to many large organizations. Now we are doing a lot of things. But what we started was through construction companies. We started with the steel works.
Yeah, and second question, this is clear. Second question is on the page down. When we say IT-based services, solution partners, probably. So IT-based is everyone, right? So be it a logistic company or be it a service company or a manufacturing company, everyone is based on IT, right? These days, it is pretty obvious that you have to have all your basics of IT in place and probably some more. So how what exactly does it say? Is it trying to say that from an inventory management perspective or throughout as a whole as a company outlook that we are IT-based solution? Or are we just focusing on inventory management as one piece which involves a lot of IT-based services.
Right. Okay. So good point. So IT based service, obviously now all the companies are dependent on IT, but we are one step ahead of that. If you see here, we are doing data capturing and analysis, optimization of vehicle utilization, modeling, decision making. So basically we are using that as big data and using for planning. Secondly, if we are handling the inventory of the customer through our IT based services, we can tell them, this much amount of inventory is left, you need to reorder it, or according to the changing trends, you need to maintain this much amount of inventory, right?
Got it. Yeah.
And this much time it will take. So basically we'll give them a tailored service. They don't have to worry about it, managing them. For example, in my let's say a supermarket, they don't have space in the town center to hold the inventory, plus they don't want an hassle. If we are providing them inventory plus managing it, and also with the IT, they are saying, this kind of product is going forward, this is going slower, and how much we need to handle. All of these things can come into IT based services.
Got it.
Basically what you're talking about, inventory is there plus other services.
So this becomes the strength of the company, isn't it?
Yes. Like here they have clearly mentioned, if you go forward, DAISTRUK uses WMS, like warehouse management system, to track inventory levels and movement of goods. So basically logistic is a primary thing for any company's supply chain. So we are playing a key role for their supply chain. So they are kind of outsourcing it to us. We are delivering plus we are managing the inventory.
Yeah, just to add in here, like maybe we are on the same page, but just to add in here, like when they say IT based services, it's a kind of source of revenue for us because we are giving services through a IT system to the customer. Most of the time when we have our own IT system that we use for our internal process efficiency, and it's not a source of revenue. When we have our own IT system in other B2B setup, but here they are using the IT based services to give to the customer. That's why it is added as a service here.
Yes, so that's the extra thing we are doing on the top of the logistics because it's related to that.
Yeah.
And obviously this can attract more clients. This can be a differentiator for us. Now going forward, we have to think where we are keeping the data. Do we have their own backups, or are we going on cloud? And the advantages and disadvantages of doing both, that will also come in picture. Then responsibility of safeguard, okay, and how we are using it ethically. All these points can come in. Okay, so DAISTRUK provides IT-based services to manage customers' inventory and enhance efficient transport, planning and optimization of uplifts and dispatches. Sometimes what happened, like we are not doing the logistics entirely. There is an issue in another country. The bigger companies who are doing through, through ports, through seaways. So if there is any disruption in the supply chain, we can still communicate with the end user, to our customer, so that they can also plan. We can also plan. We can also play some important role in that, adding value so that their business don't get disrupted. Like for example, in COVID, we have seen just because of small items, the manufacturing of the cars and big equipments was stalled. If you do it properly, it can be a good risk management tool also. And if you believe that we can add some more IT-based services, we can maybe start our own cloud services. Why not? That can also be a good option. But obviously, we have to see what is our core competencies, what is our threshold competencies, and how it is aligning with our mission and vision. But this is a smart move, I would say, from DAISTRUK perspective, because anyways, we are doing this for our own purpose internally. So why not just utilize it and get as a source of revenue as well? If you're not looking this as extra source of revenue directly, but obviously you can charge extra because you're adding this service to the things you're providing service. Okay, then data capture analysis. All this data capture will again benefit us. For example, little bit I can compare this to Zomato or Uber Eats. Think as a restaurant. Okay, if you're running a restaurant, so you have been doing sales through Uber Eats, let's say for 2 years, 3 years. Now you want to change the menu, you want to change the pricing. So Uber Eats might sometime have better data analysis or sometime better data quantity than you have yourself. What they do is they do a contract. Whatever transaction is happening through hotels and everything will become the property of Uber Eats. Maybe you guys are aware. So they can even guide the new restaurants, obviously, if they are coming up in that area. But again, the current restaurant to grow their businesses, right? So where it will come in. So it can be a part of data capture and analysis. They can help us to analyze. It can help that restaurant to, change the pricing or add certain items in the menu or remove some for that matter. Are you getting the point?
Yeah, it's almost selling the data,
Yeah.
isn't it? So Uber Eats sells data to the restaurants that they can have great analysis. There is a risk of ethics there, but it's a form of revenue.
Yeah, we can say that. Yeah, Suhas, you're saying something?
No.
Okay. Then optimization of vehicle utilization. Again, vehicle utilization will be utilizing it to the maximum. Secondly, when you are carrying goods, obviously it should be completely full or maximum full. So it's not going half or very less, because anyways there is a lot of fixed cost in the fuel and drivers' wages or salaries and everything. Then modeling and decision making with respect to inventory holding. This is very important. As we understood, now businesses are moving from traditional holding heavy inventory to just-in-time approach. They want the business to move from push to pull. Pull as in we should have advanced booking. Then after the booking only we can make the entire supply chain. Obviously we'll be predicting the sales, but we can have the inventory ready for it. Inventory to end products rather. Then clients provide DAISTRUK with access to relevant data held on their ERP systems. DAISTRUK uses a warehouse management system to track inventory levels and movements of goods. So when we are given access, we should be again very careful of the cybersecurity for our company, because otherwise they won't access it. Secondly, we should also be very careful when we are providing this service. So this businesses should also have a very good cybersecurity. Let's say we can put a condition, it should be ISO 27001, basically ISO compliant. Because if we are going certain websites which is not safe, it can affect our company as well. We can get some malware from them. Basic point, but important. DAISTRUK can manage elements of client supply chain. Client may issue instructions related to the movements of goods. So basically, supply chain is a bigger concept. Logistics plays a important part of it. Clients may issue instructions related to the movement of goods, or they may ask DAISTRUK to monitor and manage inventory at different locations. So again, the contracts plays a very, very important role. Insurance, risk management will also play a very important role. Let's say due to heavy rain, or if there is snowing in that country, and the motorways or the highways are blocked. Now we are not able to transport. So we are getting delivery 1 day late. So who will bear that cost? Will it goes to DAISTRUK or to the company or to the insurance company? All these things should be very clear when they are doing the contracts. And obviously,
And this,
yeah, Vishal.
sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. Sorry, go on. Please complete your thought first.
Yeah. And obviously, we are not providing these services to every businesses. We are dealing with different organizations and they might have different needs. Some might require to have keep their inventory through our what I should say with us, and some bigger companies like automobiles, they will have their own inventory management thing. We just have to go and deliver at their place, and other might be using our services like our warehouse rather, because again managing warehouse is not possible for every company. Yes, Vishal.
When you mentioned the point of contract and the related terms in the contract by each client, or with each client, I would say, does it not also not impact our critical success factor, timely delivery, or
Yes.
deliver on time? And then I'm just asking for my curiosity sake. Is this that we will have different CSF by each contract, or will it has to be more holistic and has to be abide by one single source of truth?
Right. So when you're talking about contract, there is something called loss of business. So things like this, we have to include in it. Mostly the business might also not take this responsibility. We have to give it to insurance companies. And as you said, we cannot have same for every businesses. Obviously, we have to have different types of contracts, and we can even put it aligning to our risk capacity, what risk we are taking, and obviously how much we are charging for that, what is the risk and return for that. Because if you are taking too much risk for smaller amount of money, maybe we have already discussed something in contract. Let's say, okay, we said if there is heavy rain or if the roadways are blocked, we'll charge extra to the customer. Okay, everything is done. But imagine same thing happened now, but a newspaper company just put in the news that we are being unethical, or DAISTRUK is very keen for charging everything. Okay, or maybe something which is still a rumor. It can affect our reputation. Maybe it is legal, but we have to be careful how people in general will perceive it.
Yeah, and then there is also a financial impact, Ms. Vine, in that case. For example, I may attract a few penalties if I'm not able to deliver basis my contract terms. I may have to give it back to my clients, right? So maybe I have my contract terms saying that I have to deliver it, let's say 48 hours. But just in case, if I'm not very clear with the contract, I may attach some risk and a financial penalty also.
Yes, definitely. So time is the first point I would say on the critical success factor. Especially now, companies are saying if they are delivering late, they have to give discount for the next service we are providing. Or in food items and all, many companies are giving it for free also. So it is small amount, but still they are ready to accept that risk.
Plus, I can also correlate with the DHL story. Again, the DHL also was doing more a bit, and they were actually facing the same challenge of any weather fluctuation and stuff like that, right? So they also made mention that for the flights that come into that port or that cargo during the late night, and if the weather is not suitable, then the time to unload and then reload, because they said that one example which was like within 2 hours they have to unload everything and then to reload. I think that could be one of the KPI for them, but that could also be impacted just because of the weather fluctuation, which is in no one's control. So I think it has a much bigger impact, but it's also, I would say, that how well we can mitigate it, because it's kind of uncontrollable on our side, but we'll have to just think through what is the best way to mitigate it. Could be also true for DAISTRUK.
For example, we can have some staff which is on standby. So if there is something like that, they can help us to reduce the time internally at least. Okay. Secondly, there are some companies, especially for the last mile, they work on odd times. For example, their duty time for office will finish at 2 a.m. in night. Reason being, they are promising whatever orders we are getting today will deliver you tomorrow. Basically, one day delivery. So they have changed it to odd times, and this is working for them. But again, working at that big level for DAISTRUK can be challenging. But still, I feel there are opportunity to reduce that risk. Yes, Farah.
So one of the things that we have, so we do logistics, not in the big, not in the big sort of systems it is here. When we do a contract at work, we find is that they say that if the delivery, the same day delivery that we paid for isn't done, I think if it's not done within 24 hours, then a claim can be made because they add into the contract mitigating factors of light, weather, and issues that could occur naturally, and that when you sign the terms and conditions or the SLA, it's almost said that we'll do it 24 hours, but you have to put in a claim and only after another 24 hours has passed for you to be able to make a claim or get some compensation.
Yes, so that's what we are talking about. So when we are doing contract, we have to be very careful with it. In fact, there was one thing viral during COVID time. Okay, there was one Chinese company, they have contract with some Western companies, and during that they have mentioned your goods should be delivered, before the certain period. And in that condition, they have said even if there is something called act of God, in that they include the word lockdown also, because this term was there before. We don't know, because we have not seen, maybe this thing happen, I don't know, 100 years back or something. So they have mentioned this word, and same thing happened. So a lot of news people were like, China has planned that and they already put into the contract, because of that contract the other company lost a lot of money, and obviously it was done through the WTO thing and all, and companies can go bankrupt also doing that. So best thing is to insure it. DAISTRUK cannot take that much risk, and we should not take also. It doesn't make sense when things are becoming uncontrollable. If you go by 2x2 model, when probability is low but impact can be high, so what we can do, we can transfer to insurance companies. No need of headache. Makes sense?
I mean, yes. So just to add a live example of my company, so like the Vishal just mentioned, it's very valid point, because yes, of course, for every client, the contract is different, but the ultimate the mission or the objective of the company remains same. So let me give my company's example. Like we are using right now two third-party logistic service providers, and for both of them, the contract is different, because one service provider is having a different scope of their work, and another one is a different scope of work. But in both the documents, the service provider, the 3PL service provider, they never mention a specific time of delivery, because there is a multiple mode of transport involved, and it is very risky for them to give the exact date or the time of delivery. So I have two contracts, but there are all two are different. And why it is different? Because one party, we give them everything ready with the planning, and another 3PL logistic service provider, they do the entire planning and forecasting, and do everything for our inventory. So both of them, the price range is different and their scope is different, of course. And the another party, we gave them we added some risk factor in it, because they are ultimately responsible for transporting our goods. So we don't allow them to keep two trucks at the same time in the warehouse, because then it will have impact on our warehouse charges, so kind of a thing. So it is not same, but of course our CSF will remain same.
Good example.
Yeah.
Both are not same, but you have in your company some standard thing when you are dealing with the contracts that need to be followed, right?
And that's because these 3PL service providers are very straightforward. They don't even give you any commitment, because they know there are many regulations, government officers, and many mode of transports are involved. That's why they never mention it. So they always play safe in that case.
Yes, they have to, because sometimes if things got stuck at custom, the government officials are not leaving, they cannot do anything. Ultimately the client has to come and give the details, and then things can go forward.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll go to the next service, shared user storage and handling. DAISTRUK has 35 warehouses spread across Roundland. Remember the number. We might need more, or sometime if there is loss in business, we might have to sell also. These are used to store and dispatch goods. Clients are charged on the basis of the storage of space occupied and the length of occupancy. Actually, this business nowadays, some companies are doing only warehousing also. You must have seen, especially in COVID time. Also, this was going up when a lot of offices, they are moving to work from home, and they have a lot of things in the office. They don't have any place to keep, so they are just going into the warehouse with additional charges for inventory handling. Inventory handling includes checking incoming goods, putting them into storage, and collecting them and processing them for dispatch. Again, it can be a source of revenue, though it is related, but it can be looked as a separate business also. We can just grow this business. If we feel like there is more demand for warehouse, why not? The warehouses have areas set aside for the storage and handling of different types of goods, including temperature and humidity control areas for storing food and secure areas for the storage of high value items. Again, here there are a lot of chances of fire, again health and safety issue. So insurance play a very important role here. So when we are talking about insurance as a stakeholder, we have to give them more priority compared to the normal company. Maybe we can even have our own insurance company. Have you heard of captive insurance?
No.
Okay, actually this question came in one of the exam, I think 2-3 years back. So companies which have lot of risk like this and they want to transfer, so ultimately they are paying a lot of money to the insurance companies, right? But the reality is 90% plus, or even I would say 95% plus, we don't claim it because things never happen. But having said that, we cannot reduce that cost or avoid that cost. So what companies do is they themselves acquire a company 100% for them, or majority control stake, or maybe 2-3 companies, they'll come together and buy an insurance company. So basically it becomes a subsidiary kind of to us and we can control it. For example, we are putting the money and 5% only is getting utilized. So as we know, insurance is very high margin business. So whatever is retaining, whatever profit they are getting, ultimately our group only will enjoy that profit. You're getting the point. Second reason can be when you do insurance, a lot of time they themselves want to mitigate their risk. For example, if it is related to health, if a person got surgery, most of the time they'll give only 70-80%. Even that also they will say we'll cover only clinical, non-clinical. They have so many terms and conditions. But if it is your own insurance company, your own captive company, you can obviously make terms and conditions easier for you. Okay. We can read also a little bit here. This is very important point. Can you see new screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is captive insurance company? A wholly owned subsidiary insured from a firm to provide risk mitigation services for its parent company or related entities. Let's say DAISTRUK started our own insurance company. So if you feel like we can earn through this, why not we can give to other competitors or other businesses also in the industry. We can do it at lower prices and we can have their own CSF. So the reason is we must be paying, let's say, of our revenue, we are paying 1%, 2% to insurance every year. So that is a very big amount of money. Why can't we have our own insurance company? 90% will come back again as a profit to us. Plus, you are more flexible to decide the rules and regulation for your company also and for their company also. ultimately benefiting the group. In fact, if you notice, most of the Fortune 500 companies are having their own captive insurance companies. Okay, so captive insurance company is wholly owned subsidiary, insurer formed to provide risk mitigation services. Like we are just discussing the risk. Let's say there's a fire in warehouse, or the food items is not been stored properly, anything with the temperature control vehicles, for its parent company or related entities. Companies form captives of various reasons. Sometimes it is because we are not finding someone suitable outside. Maybe the cost is very high, the premium is very high what we are paying. If offer better coverage for the parent company's specific risk, we can tailor it also. What is the key takeaways? A captive insurance company is wholly owned subsidiary. Then the potential benefits of having captive insurance company include lower insurance cost. It can be cheaper than commercial insurance market. It might be expensive to set up, especially if the company or the group of companies is not that big. And as I mentioned, most Fortune 500 companies today have captive insurance companies. Be a new project for us. Okay. And obviously, setting your own thing can be difficult because of the legal requirements and a lot of other things. So we can start by acquiring a small or a medium insurance company. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't need to go in detail, but if you just understand this, can be important. Actually, in one of the exam, they asked in stakeholders how to deal with captive insurance. What is your thoughts? So most of the time, most of the students that time, they don't know only what is captive insurance, and obviously they lost that question. It was 60%. DAISTRUK operates 90 warehouse belonging to client, providing both labor and all aspect of inventory handling. So now we have to be careful how many warehouse we have. 35. And how much we are handling is 90. So basically 125 we are handling, but we own only 35. Here we are not only providing the service with the IT, but also it's our labor. Again, their health and safety will be our responsibility, not that company's responsibility. There may be issues, for example, there one company like Foxconn, where we normally hear the health and safety and the, what I should say, there is no proper sanitation, there is no proper rest area or medical service available at warehouse, and it may be an issue with at least few of the warehouses. Let's say 2 of the warehouse doesn't have it, so it can affect our labor, our reputation, our policies, our values, how we are dealing with the labor. So again, the contract and dealing with the company, what minimum they should provide in the warehouses. Then shared usage transport. DAISTRUK owns 4,500 articulated tractor units, 4.5K, and 6,500 trailers. What is articulated? We have seen the picture. This can be articulated, and these are the articulated. Okay, the bigger one. Trailers can be specific to the size what we do on the ships like this. So when we are talking about 7,000 drivers, but we have so many trucks, how we are managing it? 4,500, then 6,500. It's coming here itself 11,000. And how much they mention here? 7,000 drivers. So do we have less driver compared to that? Let's see. All are available for shared usage. that enable goods to be carried as part loads, which reduces transportation cost. It also makes it possible for trucks to backhaul loads on the return journey, again offsetting running cost for clients. Backhaul loads when they are coming back. Shared usage reduces the number of vehicles on the road, making this a more sustainable means of operation. Shared usage, basically, if it is going for one business, you are going from point A to B. So we will not carry only the goods of, let's say, company ABC. We can do for ABC also, we can do for XYZ also. So it will be beneficial for the company, for us also as a business, and maybe we can give them also a little bit lesser price rather than having dedicated thing and keeping the half trailer empty. Doesn't make sense. The company's trailer fleet includes 800 tankers that can carry liquid or powder. Again, that's a big risk. 600 of those are available for the carriage of fuel and chemicals. As per the law, whosoever is carrying that, if there is any incident, I'm just talking about Indian law, but normally it is the case. It's their responsibility if any incident happens on the road. Even if they park at a wrong place, somebody just put a fire or any incident happens. So again, health and safety plays more important role here. Not only for your employees, but when you are going on the road, and we have to regularly keep checking the tankers. There is no leakage, and a lot of other things. The remainder are for the carriage of foods, including milk and vegetable oils. The company has a further 1,000 smaller vehicles, including rigid trucks and vans, to offer flexible and efficient service. Maybe it might include some electric bikes, bicycle. If not, we can add to improve the last one. So basically, we are doing a lot of things. Right? Inventory management we are doing shared user, and everything looks well organized at a decent level.
The asset base of this this overall thing that DAISTRUK owns, how we don't know yet. How does it look like other players in the market, right? As well.
Yeah, we don't know exactly, but having said, we are one of the leader. So maybe we are, in top 2, top 3 in the round end. And round end being a developed country, usually the competition will also be high. So if you are leader in a very competitive market, or at least competitive market, you must be good. And just from our understanding in the real world, we have to compare this to real world companies. There are very few companies who do all of this, right? So we can assume that they are doing it in a good way.
Yeah.
Then rail transport and intermodal. DAISTRUK owns 10 railway locomotives. This very rare that logistic companies owning this. That pull load on Roundland's national rail network. These operate continuously with each train load carrying with equivalent up to 80 articulated trucks worth of goods. Again, if we improve on this, we are already there. There are two things. If you are doing port and to improve ports, if you are doing rail network, and we are doing through rail, obviously, rail freight, and we have to improve that. Improvement is obviously easy, or increasing the market share is easier than starting from the scratch. I believe it can be easier for us to reduce the dependency on the roadways if we just utilize that. And government will play a very, very important role here. And when you are making stakeholder list, don't just make government as one stakeholder. We have to deal government authorities in railway, because it's a different department most of the countries. Then for roadway, it is a different department. And maybe for sea, it will be different. Not maybe, mostly it will be different. So again, they have their own requirements. But in general, we can say government will have low interest, high power, but certain places they might have high power and high interest as well. Maybe let's say in ports. Usually, if you talk about UK, right? If you talk about in India also, mostly the government is focusing on improving their exports. Even in China, So they will definitely have a closer look on ports, if not on railways, because again railways will be internal to them. Okay. So maybe ports you can put high interest from the government. Right. So DAISTRUK owns 2 inland ports in Roundland, in addition to the 35 warehouses. This is repeated information that it uses for shared storage. 2 inland ports out of 6. The inland ports are used primarily for the short-term storage of goods that are in shipping containers and for switching shipping containers between trains or between rail and road transport. So primarily 3 things we are doing: rail, road, and ports or shipping. DAISTRUK can manage the import and export of goods by sea using both trucks and trains for deliveries to and collection from Roundland seaports. The company does not own its own ships. Okay, this thing is clear, because again, owning an seaport plus owning the ships can be a very big challenge for the company. Maybe if we feel that business is going up, we can have some smaller companies or some ships as well in the future.
Yes.
But again, it can be difficult for the company managing so much. We need expertise at board level. A lot of executive, non-executive coming from that background. And secondly, if we own seaport and if we don't own ship, we can just earn revenue not only from our ships, but obviously other companies' ships will also come in there. That can be also source of revenue for us.
Correct.
But it works closely with shipping companies to organize cargo for its clients. DAISTRUK staff can also manage the documentation and other administrative issues associated with the customs regulation. If you see this documentation, they have mentioned at least 4 to 5 times in law. It might be a hint. This can be an issue related to our exam. If there is something to with the documentation, let's say there are certain confusion, but our employees are just putting wrong information to get the things done faster. Wrong information about the product, sometime wrong information about the clients, just to get the things done in a faster way. That can cost us big on the long run, because this happens usually. As simple as spelling mistakes or wrong addresses. We have to be careful with it. The company can make similar arrangements for air cargo as well. So when you're writing all our assets, please remember this and make a list. Okay, 80 trucks, 35 warehouses, then 90 we are managing for others, 2 ports. Okay, write all this down. Then specialized loads. DAISTRUK offers a specialized service for the transportation of oversized loads, like you see here. Clients in the construction industry often need to move large items such as wind turbines. This requires specialized equipment and specially trained licensed driver. So again, finding this driver can be difficult because this skill is rare again. Specially trained. You have to train them. It might require special license also. So if we see in general, we are doing almost everything. We are not focused more into B2C, if you see here, right? They have not talked about small parcels. We are focusing and delivering. We are not delivering parcel for Amazon, eBay, companies like that. We are more focused on B2B. Basically, we can say we are more focused on inbound logistics rather than outbound. So outbound can also be an opportunity. Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Please make notes of all of these points and when you reread it, we might get new points as well. What can be the strength coming in from that? What can be the opportunity? Definitely, because of environmental things or maybe environmental group pressures, we might have to shift to rail, to sea. Okay, so we have to be ready for that to make a sustainable business. Then moving forward, DAISTRUK client categories. Food item is 44. Very important. Food items means what? It can be perishable. Some, at least let's say 20 to 30% of food items can be perishable, if not others. Meat and all that can be frozen. Then general merchandise can be anything. Public sector and industrial sector, just like this. Oversized loads. They can have some machineries, they can have turbines, they can have different things.
All the construction material that they started with will fall into 23%, right?
Yes, we can say that. They started with, and obviously a lot of other businesses also come in there.
Yeah.
So there is more risk here because when we are doing oil also, right? Transporting oil as well. So that will also be a challenge here for the safety. And for the food, the time will be more important. For example,
food,
said, yeah.
I think food, they also mentioned about this grains that they need the special kind of vessels, the grains and other things, which are not perishable for sure, but then this customized setup is required for the vessels when you deliver it through sea.
Yes, even they have mentioned in that thing at port itself, we have that ships which are doing that for the grain.
Yes, correct. That point only.
Here they have mentioned it, right? For example, Roundland imports large quantities of grain from Northland, which is far side from West. The grain is transported in bulk, and you need a specific things like this. So obviously, when we are investing in things, we need to know the percentage. Let's say only 1% is coming from food. We cannot invest in that bespoke or tailored thing. And obviously, we should know what are the trends and how things are changing. Maybe this is our pie chart. Our competitors may be totally different. They have 23% from food and 44% from public sector and industrial sector. But mostly it should be similar because obviously food remains a very important part of the logistics in most of the countries. It should be, right, by default. Because it's basic necessity. We need food 3 times a day, at least 3 times. And
mostly these developed countries where the agriculture is not the prime sector, prime sector.
Yes, they are importing most of them.
They mostly import this thing, correct? The food items.
If we have agriculture also, it will be internal. Internal logistic will be there.
Correct.
Like northern part of India to southern part, or southern part to northern part, like that. But here for food, it can involve this sea or airways as well, because we are importing.
Plus with food, we have volume and frequency playing an important role, right? So food items are mostly high consumables.
Yes. For example, grains we are getting from Northland. Their policies. And when it comes to food item, this is basic necessity, and government need to keep the price under control because ultimately it will affect the inflation. So logistic is again a very big part of the price. If fuel price goes up, logistic price goes up 100%, the price of the food item will also go up. So we might have to be careful. If they put a price cap on that, at least on few things, obviously it can affect our business also. We cannot just keep on increasing the price and try to be premium here. Isn't it?
Yeah, very much true.
Then some customers do not fit with a single category. most of the customers are not in single category. They have just given 3, but we have to be very careful. We are dealing with very wide amount or very wide categories. Okay. For example, Madak Supermarket is one of DAISTRUK largest clients in terms of revenue. Very good. So write this point. When you are making stakeholder analysis, usually other businesses will say high interest, low power, but here we'll say high interest, high power, because largest client, only one client is giving us so much of revenue. It's very, very rare. So dealing with them, having good partnerships specific to them is very, very important for us. Each of Maddox shop sells clothes and household goods as well as food. So basically, general merchandise plus food, covering both the categories. Where appropriate, DAISTRUK will use the same truck to deliver both food and non-food items to shops. Mud Dogs also sell fuel to motorists and has filling stations at most of its shops. And so DAISTRUK also provide tanker services. Ultimately, all 3 rounds. DAISTRUK's IT system track clients' inventory in real time. Client can access information relating to their inventory and can instruct DAISTRUK to organize movements of goods. So basically, they are depending on our analysis. Let's say there is an issue with our analysis, or sometime it went wrong, or maybe not exactly correct, and they went out of goods or out of fuel. It can affect a very big thing for them. Their business will be affected. Their reputation in the market will be affected. Their trust in the market will be affected. It's a very big responsibility for us. And it's very rare one company is doing so many things. So Mud Dogs, you never know, they can come to acquire us also. They look so big, right?
They
are
just the same thought to my mind. Yeah.
Sorry?
The same thought I just thought about it. The same thing.
Yes. It's very rare, right? One company doing so many things.
Correct.
That too at such a big level. Household goods itself is a very big business. Then food altogether different. Then they are doing non-food items also. Okay. Then they are doing fueling also. So a very big conglomerate, all in all. We can compare to Virgin Group in UK, or let's say Reliance in India, something like that. Those instructions are sent electronically. For example, Mud Dog supermarkets may wish 5 shipping containers of tinned goods to be collected from the docks, transported to warehouse and unloaded by forklift. DAISTRUK would acknowledge the instruction and would then ensure that suitable vehicles were assigned to meet the ship. Drivers would be assigned to this task and told which truck and trailer they should use. And also, if you have everything but you don't have the forklift, so basically your planning and assigning of this machineries will play a very important role. Again, we can use this with the help of technology. Otherwise, doing manually is almost impossible to do it very effectively. Do we have the trucks available? Do we have the trailers available? For example, from docks, first it is coming through rail. Then you should be available trucks to take it forward from the warehouse. Then maybe when it is going in the city, you need your vans. So everything should be in align. And obviously, we cannot keep the vans empty so that these trucks are coming. We have to utilize their time also. Then availability of drivers. So it is complex. Complex management, but with the help of IT, it can be solved. DAISTRUK's IT system also track the services being provided for clients. Those are priced in accordance with the nature of the support being offered. For example, inventory stored on pallets of one of DAISTRUK warehouse will be charged at daily rate per pallet. So pallet is something like a box, wooden box kind of thing, right? It will be of standard size, with additional charges for any movement such as unloading a trailer or a container or packaging items to make a load for dispatch. Usually, if companies are giving us for holding us, right, in our warehouse, they will give DAISTRUK only the business for the movement. It's very rare that somebody else will come and do it for, unless it is their own personal vehicle. So obviously, we should not lose that revenue model. We should be doing all of these related services as well. All of DAISTRUK vehicles are fitted with electronic trackers that update the transportation staff on the location and status of all the types. Cyber security may be, one important question, because cyber security has been asked in all the variants in the past. Here it looks very, very important because everything is connected to that. Transportation staff supported by software can manage loads and select the most efficient routes, which can be helpful when part load must be carried and offloaded. Again, very important. Like GPS, there was one very famous example. I think it was with UPS only, United Parcel Service. They have put this trackers in their trucks. Okay, and what they found out is, instead of waiting the signal, right? For example, we are waiting for 90 seconds on traffic signal, but sometimes you have a free right turn. Okay, it might be a kilometer long, but you are saving your 90 seconds. So what they found out is, if you don't stop at that signal and you take that right turn, okay, and you go continuously, you end up saving more fuel rather than just putting your engine on and waiting at the traffic signal. So they have instructed their drivers when they should wait and when they should not. By just doing that, they have saved millions of dollars. Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
You've heard this example already, right? So we are also doing that. For example, Maddox might wish to replenish 6 of its shop with a variety of cleaning materials. DAISTRUK warehouse staff would receive electronic instructions telling them which pallets to pick and the order in which they are able to load into the trailer. So communication, timely communication, correct communication, effective communication is very, very important. One thing we can add here for internal to the business, one of the CSF internal to the business can be training on effective communication. It's very easy to say, but when we are talking normally, with our friends also or in professional life, what we say sometimes it can be perceived in a different way. It's very easy to get miscommunicated. There is something called communication gap and there is something called miscommunication. Maybe communication gap is being filled through this electronics. It can even do over communication because with technology it's easier. But miscommunication can be a challenge, especially when you have new employees coming in or less experience. It can make a problem for us. So make that point also very important, which is also risk in other companies, other businesses, but the impact will be low. Do you agree with that?
Completely.
Yes.
The truck driver would then drive from shop to shop, following a route that both minimize time and distance and maximize the overall efficiency of each driver. It's okay, but sometimes there is road maintenance going on. It might not get uploaded there. So obviously the driver can have the physical map of the city where they are doing, or maybe we can use the same drivers for the last mile where they already are aware of the routes, because sometimes it won't get updated on the maps. Probability low, again impact can be high. DAISTRUK's IT system can monitor the estimated time of arrival at each location. This is important. Why I'm saying about that, traffic thing, even if it is delayed by few hours, let's say they are delivering to some supermarkets. So in Friday, on Saturday, they have very big sale of alcohol. Weekend people are going for party. And we got late on delivering that shipments. Okay. So definitely they will lose a lot of businesses and maybe some customer will fly. They'll go to the next shop and they might not come back because most of these retailers are providing same service, same price, everything is same. So it might cost us big, we can even lose them. So estimated time and communication plays an important role. Delays due to traffic or weather conditions can be predicted and revised routes can be sent to the sat-nav system in DAISTRUK. So basically the system what we are using. If a delay cannot be avoided, then the system will send a warning to clients. Again, this communication is important and we have to train the clients as well. If it is a larger organization, it's fine. But when we are B2C with the small retailers, we need to make sure they are trained and this warning is sent to their, maybe, the manager's mobile, their laptops, or they have our application, DAISTRUK application, where they'll send the notification. Usually they must be having our application. Apart from monitoring delivery times, DAISTRUK must also ensure that its drivers do not exceed their permitted hours. As I was telling, Roundlandian law makes it an offense for a driver to drive for more than 9 hours each day. So this offense definitely will come to us. Even if the driver is doing without our consent, it is a risk for the company. So we should have strict internal control. It's easy to track if it is only one driver through the GPS system. But if there are two drivers, can be a little difficult. How they are shifting. That limit is in place to reduce the risk of drivers losing concentration or falling asleep while driving. So it's very logical point to understand.
This could be potential one clue point for us as well, that if there is anything which goes beyond, what is the impact and all that.
Right. What can happen if it goes beyond? What can be scenarios?
So obviously it impacts reputation. That's one, and it will impact some sort of liabilities or penalties or legal obligations. Plus, there are multiple facets to this. One is that you're always a point that what is ethically and what is legally. So I think that would play an important role here, because things like this will have a much more wider impact when it comes to. So if something has been enforced in Roundland, and the lawmakers are very strict on this, and it's like a breach to the golden rule. So obviously the impact will be much higher for a company like DAISTRUK.
And also we have to understand it can be tempting for the drivers to drive more. As we know, let's take example of Canada. A lot of people, after doing their professional qualifications and degrees, they are becoming drivers. Why? Because it's well-paid job. And if they do the service faster, they might get some other incentive as well. Actually, it's less. Some countries will allow 11 hours also, 12 hours also. But again, it's uncontrollable. So a lot of points they have given here actually in these 2-3 pages. Here you have to make a lot of notes, starting from the introduction of DAISTRUK, from page number 11, from the end of page number 11 to page 14. Okay, because previous to that, what we did was more of logical, and they are giving information. But these things are very effective. The strategic issues straight away we can find from here. First issues we found about cyber thing, dependency on the IT, then employee management, then flow of information, employee training.
I have one question, sorry.
Yeah, please.
On this, I think in this paragraph, third last paragraph, when we said that, and when we talked about it, that this DAISTRUK will arrange and send instructions to the drivers that what to pick up, what to be loaded. Do you think that this will have a concurrence also required from the clients, that is this the right way? Because see, it is, or is it more internal efficiency that we will gain? What will minimize time and distance will become my profit. And irrespective client will be interested or not, because client will only be looking at from a point of delivery. Yes. But for us, it is up to us, and we don't have a contract based on that what route to follow and all that. It's completely our autonomy.
Right.
I think this is my question was that this is something which we own and we don't need to consult the clients, right?
We don't need to consult the client, but we should do to find the efficient way. Firstly, we'll do the information to the driver because they can scan when we are there putting the goods inside. So they are not carrying the wrong things, firstly. Secondly, we should know the proper map. It's not only about finding the shortest route, but sometime on the way you can deliver the things as well, especially when it's the last mile. You don't want to go to north, then go south, then go north again, right? For that way, it will help us.
Sounds like a pretty solid IT systems they have.
Yes, they should have, and especially for the last mile, how they do it is they don't go to homes. Like in India, that concept is still not there, but in UK, I have seen they'll go to a local shop or retail market nearby, and they will deliver the goods. And when I get free, I'll just go and show them the scanner, and I'll take from there. So there's a small incentive given to that shop as well. And it's very easy for the logistic company. Let's say I have 10 houses in that locality, and I'm taking 5 minutes, 50 minutes. So it's better for me to go to that retail store and give it, even if I spend 10 minutes, I save 40 minutes. Good deal, isn't it?
Yeah. In India also, they have started like having some pickup stores where the customers can go and pick up their goods and they don't need to deliver on road.
Yes, that's a very good thing. Even for customers, sometimes we are busy, we are outside house. If just it's 2 minutes or 5 minutes walk, why not? We are going out anyways, we can collect it.
Yeah, I saw we have a Thane station in Mumbai. So I saw Amazon pickup center at the station. So yeah, that's very interesting to see.
Good, especially at station, local station, right?
Correct. Yes.
So when you are going to office or coming from office, you can just collect it. That's a smart move to keep at the station. Awesome. Because lakhs of people are going through there. There are a lot of memes also goes on social media. Sometimes in offices, the security's job is only to collect parcels, right? They have so much because people order it on their office address. It's easier, and that's the working hour, right? And so companies will also deliver there.
Exactly.
Anything else?
Nothing. But what I see is this Madoc supermarket. They mentioned it twice, and there are many information which are the Madoc supermarket they mentioned in the pre-scene. I don't know. That could be some.
It can be Maddox plus this automobile company. They
Yes.
have not mentioned it under DAISTRUK.
Correct.
They are doing with us, but I assume they are doing. When we say large organization, this is a very large organization. So both can be. I mean, Madoc is a key stakeholder, and I believe this Malter Motors is also a key stakeholder for us. And
Because-
both are massive companies. You see
Right.
this, 31 countries.
Correct. And if I compare this, they don't even give more information about competitors, but these customers, they mention a lot of things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe both are listed also. They have not mentioned.
Correct. Maybe. Yeah.
And for them, both of the company, if you think from their perspective, logistic is definitely a big part of their costing. So why not they acquired us, right? Or acquire any of our competitors. It makes sense for them.
We can also become a captive 3PL logistic service providers. We don't know.
Yes, yes. It's very rare, but it happened. Even this food delivery company, that question was asked, we are doing with only big 4 players. One of the player was so big, it was listed. And in the exam, the question was, they are trying to acquire us. What to do now? And obviously, acquisition sometimes can be hostile. They'll just give double price, shareholders will get excited and they will sell it.
Directly
They can't come and request.
So that's what the Indian company Adani has done, right? Because they are the major oil importers. They are having lots of imports, and now they own the entire port. Like So that's another thing. Yeah, that kind of a setup they have. So now they don't need to depend on different 3PL services where they have to approach them for the, to load the goods on the port. They have
Yes.
their own port.
Especially for the coal, like
Coal,
it
yes.
started only 30 years back when the port was started. They
Correct.
understood that coal demand will be there. So, and they, just to get more control on the supply chain, they even bought the coal refinery, then the ports. So they have very good control. It's very difficult for any competitor to do that. Why? Because they are not doing end to end. You can give their examples also. Adani is a very good example. Okay, now we'll go to the extract from annual report, mission and values. First, we'll talk about mission. DAISTRUK mission is DAISTRUK gets things done. Very simple mission. Firstly, what is mission? Mission is the primary reason why we exist. We cannot say our mission is to earn profit for that. Obviously, for profit making, it is understood. But why we exist? What is the main motive? For example, if you talk about this non-profit organization, we have Oxfam. They are saying they want to eradicate poverty. Then we have Amnesty International. They want to work for the human rights. So basically, this is a logo. This is a communication to the stakeholders, connected, external, and to everyone. Gets things done. Usually, this mission is vague. Here also, it's vague. What they are talking, what things they want to get it done. They are not very specific. But we can just understood they want to be committed, whatever they are promising, and delivered it. What we have promised, just deliver it. Obviously, there will be a lot of challenges, but you have to do it. Right? What else can you make out from this sentence?
So if you look at their mission and the vision, they didn't mention that they only focus on delivering goods. So that's why the IT service comes into picture. Like if we have a very robust kind of and very automative the cloud system or automated IT system, so we can also give it as a service to the other clients, not delivering the goods.
Yeah. So they have not directly mentioned, but getting things done or gets things done is more about logistics. And we have invested so much of capital, and we have got a lot of, I would say, explicit knowledge specific to the industry. If you look at asset, so it's very difficult for us to move from 1 to 2.
Yeah. Okay.
Little bit is fine, but very difficult to get at this level.
Because what I thought is like having artificial intelligence and the automation, it's very difficult for us to get those customers or the clients who will accept this AI and the automation kind of a system, because it's costly, of course. So we can also think like we can also outsource this kind of AI and automation to track their inventories and manage their the production planning. We can outsource it, like if we just want to recover.
Definitely. If we talk about our core competencies, I would say core competencies is management of this logistics, not IT, because a lot of other companies are also doing that in the market.
Yeah.
But what we are doing with the rail, the ports, the roadways, and having all the knowledge of the documentation, the information we are managing. So basically, it's 24/7.
Okay.
All days, all hours, all minutes, work is going on, isn't it? That is our core competence. Achieving that is a challenge. We can definitely outsource that, or if you are doing it internally, we can acquire certain company who is doing good at it and continue. No problem. Maybe that is a strategy to acquire the customer. They are first coming us only for that services, and they're happy with us, and they're converting to here. Because usually business to business is a long-term thing. Once they are happy, there are customers for 20 years, 30 years also. We know that in the real world also.
That's correct.
Then vision. So vision is our goal, usually a long-term goal. Once we achieve that, vision will change. Now our vision is, DAISTRUK's vision is to have a positive impact on all stakeholders through the provision of sustainable supply chain strategies and services. Okay, so we can, segregate this. DAISTRUK's vision is to have positive impact. So what is positive impact here? So positive impact for different stakeholders, to all stakeholders. It will be different for different. Let's talk about employees. What can be the positive impact on employees? Maybe, better pay, better working conditions, work-life balance, or maybe flexibility nowadays, working from home, hybrid work. What else can you do? Positive impact on stakeholder.
Internal training and development.
Internal training and development, very important. Then if you talk about our customers, clients, so obviously our clients are very big. If you talk about food items, the supermarkets. So for them, again, what positive impact we can bring for them? First, and the most positive impact can be related to cost. If we can reduce the cost or at least increase the value, then be environmental friendly. Actually, it's part of second, sustainable supply chain. But again, if you do that, it will improve the value for the stakeholders. Then another stakeholder, government. How we can be having a positive impact on government? Tell me. It's very easy.
Following all the rules and regulations.
Okay.
Building on trade.
I'm sorry?
So trade development, Misbah. So for that matter, this being a biggest firm or one of the largest firm in the market, the positive impact will be that how we can continue to maintain our standing as well as bring in more trade for the government. No?
Yes. As we discussed in the start, economy, obviously any country want to make their economy stronger. So economy will depend on this import exports. And obviously if our logistic is good, if you are creating value, it will ultimately help our GDP for the country to grow. So government will play a very major role. Their expectations will also be high from us. And we as a company and basically the group, the union, what we'll have outside DAISTRUK, that can also play an important role in policy making, infrastructure, all of this. So obviously different stakeholders, employees, government we have talked about, then we have local society, we have environmental groups. Everything we have to see what positive impact we can bring in. Usually vision is very focused, but here they have not done it. Still little bit vague. Otherwise, DAISTRUK vision should have been, DAISTRUK want to become a leading logistic company in Europe. Let's say DAISTRUK is a European country, or DAISTRUK wants to become a leading logistic company in the world, or one of the leading company in the world. They have not mentioned it. Still little bit vague. Okay. Yeah, through the provision of sustainable supply chain strategies and services. So as you said, Suhas, they are not talking about logistics, they are talking in vision, supply chain strategies and services.
Yes.
So, supply chain, I think one of the reasons why this pre-scene is come maybe because of COVID. CIMA wants to be relevant. The supply chain is a very big issue still now.
True. Yes, it's still going on.
Lockdown happened, then this because of war, the oil prices are going up. Then a lot of geopolitical issues are happening. So definitely supply chain will get affected. If supply chain is getting affected, a lot of goods and ultimately leading to inflation. We know what happened to these grains because most of them were coming from Ukraine. The bread price shot up. There are no breads in most of places. Okay, and ultimately we have to create value for the businesses. We have to help them to reduce the hassle. You know what we are providing as a business, we are not only providing them on time delivery, quality delivery, plus we are telling them, we need to order this, we need to order that. This is a good quality, from here you can order. So imagine this is so good for the company. Why? Now they can focus on their core activities. They don't have to be hassle for that. They might have done this if they spend money. They are paying us anyways, but they won't get the quality of doing with us if they do themselves, right? Because this is our core competencies, and they can focus on their own core competencies. So in a nutshell, we can say we have to keep on improving our services, keep on improving our positive impact on the stakeholders. Even if they're happy, we can see, okay, what can be the next challenge for them, and keep on improving. Obviously here, the R&D can play a very major role. All right. Hello, Ginny, can you hear us?
Hi, Misbah.
Yeah. Okay. Now we are talking about the values. So basically, values are something like principles which we should not compromise. Sometimes if we get some tempting offer, okay, or something tempting to, earn good profit, and maybe as a CEO of the company, it will affect their remuneration and everything. But we cannot compromise on the values. We cannot compromise on our principles. For an individual, it can be principle. For a company, it can be the values. So DAISTRUK is passionate about providing excellent service. Very good point. Many a times we can provide substandard service and save the cost, but we are not at, we might have said good service, better service, but excellent is ultimate. It's a very strong word used.
Yeah. Time, quality, cost constraint.
Time, cost, quality, everything will come into place here. Remember these points. Then DAISTRUK delivers excellent services at all times. Again, they are not coming down from the excellent services at all times. So it's not like in the morning, I mean, not that times, but in the tougher times they are remaining. Obviously 24/7, that is also there, but tougher times, or if there is any uncertainties going in the market, uncontrollable things are going in the market, still in that situation we have to deliver good. In the normal time, maybe any businesses can do it, but during the tough times we have to still show that we are not compromising on the quality of the services. Then DAISTRUK acts with integrity in dealing with its stakeholders. Integrity is honesty. It's a very primary thing. Even it can lead to unethical things if you are not integrity, if you're not following that. We are honest. Let's take an example. We have cyber attack and data has been breached. Maybe nobody knows. We can just keep quiet. But we are dealing with integrity. We should go out and apologize to the stakeholders saying, this data have been gone. We are sorry for that. We are taking this new steps to control that this thing will never happen again. And to the stakeholders, we can even say this of your information has gone out. Maybe your credit card details, maybe your address, phone numbers, things like that. And other part of integrity can be how we are handling their goods. Many times companies want to, hide, logistic companies. If there are some middle member, they have outsourced, they don't want to show their name. Maybe they are substandard, they are unethical, they are not following integrity themselves, or right. So they don't want to get associated with them. Therefore, they don't disclose. But we cannot do it because it's against our values. Then DAISTRUK trust and respect its employees and provide a safe working environment. Safety is very important here, because warehouses, injuries, fatalities, people dying is common. Even in Amazon, if you go and Google it, there are a lot of news that they have got injured. Even some people died also. Not only in Amazon, but in warehouses, it is common. Warehouse, then construction industries, construction of houses, steel. Some of them are very risky. Oil refinery. So we have to be focused specifically on the health and safety. Again, training of your employees, then proper CPR training. CPR is like emergency. maybe every person working should know basic CPR training, basic health and safety training. They should be able to, do the basic medical things. They should have the contact details of emergency services. What are the emergency services? For ambulance, hospitals, then police, then fire. Okay, fire safety things, or we call it fire brigade. These are the things. And obviously regular checks of that. Any question on values?
Yeah, I don't have a question, but I have I just thought of it. Like, what if a customer approaching us for the takeover? So, how would be our response to them? Do we really stick to the values, or will go for the profitability if the customer is asking us to, sell ourselves to them at a 2 times or 3 times of valuation? I mean, this
Basically, you are saying somebody coming to acquire our company, right?
Yeah, correct.
So when we say respect its employee, doesn't mean whatever employee will say or our customer will say we have to do that. We're talking about customer, not employees. Okay. So that is totally different. It is not related to the core values.
Okay.
It will decide on the board. Usually acquiring such a big company or even a small or medium company, they have to give incentive. Let's say our valuation is 1 trillion and they say we'll pay you 2 trillion. Definitely it will be tempting. So at the board level, you have to convince the shareholders. Who are the owners? The shareholders. If shareholders started selling shares and 51% of the shares or more than 50% have been sold, you have lost the ownership. So the management should see, is it a good deal? Is it worth it? Otherwise, we have to convince the shareholders, though they are offering us good price, but still we should not fall for it because our value is even more, or maybe in coming years or 4-5 years, we can be at better place than them. Or sometime we can say that company is not ethical or different places. I mean, different reasons.
Yeah.
This we'll discuss in F3 also, last chapter. It is a part of hostile takeover. If you are ready to sell it, well and good. Sell your company, whatever incentive you are getting. Second scenario is you don't want to sell. Then you have some options to do against the hostile takeover.
Correct.
Usually probability is low. These big companies might go for mergers. Acquisition, the probability is low.
We can acquire someone else, but
Usually we'll acquire.
Yeah.
Because at this level, we don't want to do anything from organic, anything from scratch. We don't have time. Though we have to pay a little bit extra, but you are saving years. So why not acquire it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll stop here for today. We already discussed a lot of things. From tomorrow, we'll start with the board of directors and the rest, financials, and the news articles. So today's was very important. In fact, the core part of DAISTRUK was there. We started from the introduction when we launched in 1958, when we got listed, all of that. So go through it. You'll get a lot of points for the SWOT analysis, a lot of points for the risk, and also the pestle analysis. Okay, just focus on these 3-4 pages what we did. Other pages also you can just give a quick read, but this you spend more time. Read it multiple times. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So tomorrow same time.
Yeah.
Yep.
7 p.m. India and 2:30 UK.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. See you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.